Okay, so just a little idea of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about why to use photography in the classroom, and it actually is quite easy to implement, and you can use it for any subject area or grade level, or even if you're an administrator, you can use it to help build community. There's so many different ideas that we're going to be talking about. Talk just a tiny bit about the history of photography, and then we're going to give some very specific classroom examples and applications and even lesson plans that you can be using. We will also hopefully get you to collaborate. Collaborate on a Google Photos album. Anybody here already using Google Photos? Okay, so for my Google fans, this is my absolute favorite Google app that they've ever invented. So I'll be talking a little bit about that. And then hopefully, if you've taken pictures at this event, or you do even today in this session, that you can eventually, today or later, add some photos to this album. And that's all going to be over here. So hopefully you have Google Photos. It's awesome. And if you don't, you can get it.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right. So just a little background. Not so long ago, when I had my children, I didn't used to be so tech savvy. And I was always like a little bit more afraid of technology. And then when I had my babies, I started taking pictures because I felt like I was going to need to document their childhoods. And then what happened was, back then we had the old-fashioned digital cameras with the little cards in the slots, and I had no idea how to get the photos from my camera to my computer so that I could print them out in Costco. So basically that's how all of this started, and then one thing led to another. But I still take photos of my children, and my daughter, she's now 12 years old, and my son is 8, and I love how nowadays, we all have our cameras that we carry around with us everywhere we go, and it's so easy to capture a moment. So here's a picture of my daughter. She walked into my bedroom, and she tried to catch the sunbeam, and I just happened to have the camera in my pocket, and I captured that moment. And so even if you're working with very, very young children, if you're taking the pictures, you're leading by example, just sort of like with literacy. If kids see you reading, if they see you taking pictures, and I think that's a good thing. And it's also a way to, I think, a form of affection that's saying that this moment is important to me, and I want to remember it, and you are important, and it's precious. And of all the things in the world, my photos are my most precious possessions. Everything else I could replace.
David Terry has a great blog post about that, about you take pictures of what matters to you, and then relates that kind of revelation to what he does with the students. And now his high school English students take way more photos of each other, and he takes way more photos of them. It's pretty amazing.
Right. So how many of you live at home and you have your own kids, and you see a scene that looks something like this? Okay, I know, right? Demented and sad, but social. So anyway, here's my daughter and my son and my niece and my nephew, and when they get together, they get on their mobile devices. And I'm always the type that's more the outdoorsy, that I prefer them to get outside, and so I say, come on, it's a beautiful day, go outside. Go do something outside and get some fresh air. And so they do this. Advance. All right. That's not what I have in mind. What I'm actually trying to get them to do is this, okay? So usually we think of technology as something that you're doing, in front of a desk or indoors. But I like to kind of twist it around and use technology to do things that we haven't really thought of before. And I like to use technology to get them outside more often. So I love to go on photo walks with my own family and with my students and with my teachers that I work with. I guess I didn't say I'm a K-8 technology TOSA, so I work with teachers often too. And I use it as a tool to get them to become more observant of their surroundings. So most of the time, people are walking around with their phones in the middle of text messages, and they're totally oblivious to everything that's going on. And instead, I want to use that camera to help them to become more observant. And so I take photo walks with all different ages, and here's some in middle school. And then here I'm doing it with elementary school kids. And also, like I said, I do this with teachers. And the goal is to get them to see more instead of the opposite.
So, where are my history teachers? Nice, there's a lot more than I thought. We're going to do a quick little history lesson. Did anybody have one of these cameras when they were a kid? I did, I remember these. So, it blows my mind that this existed when I was in 3rd grade.
Now there's a whole new way for your child to be creative. Introducing the Fisher-Price camera, designed just for kids. Inside's a Kodak camera, outside pure Fisher-Price. Big buttons, cushioned ends.
Come on, friends, smile.
There's even a built-in level indicator.
Hold it!
Introduce your child to the art of picture taking and watch what happens. The new Fisher-Price camera, a whole new way to be creative.
So who else had one of those? I did. Yeah, it's not that long ago. We're not that old. And this was cutting edge. This was amazing that I had my own camera.
Bill's not that old.
I'm not that old. So I want to introduce you to Greg. He is a teacher at Hillbrook School where I work, and he is a traditional film guy. Still has film. He has like 8 camera bodies, all kinds of lenses. He plans trips and vacations around different photo opportunities, and he'll spend like 8 hours trying to get a shot. Like, really serious guy about photography, and he teaches this to our middle school students. He's been going for years to Santa Fe, New Mexico, right state, right? Yeah. And looked and saw what they had, and there's this mobile photography thing. He thought, mobile photography? Well, so all of it's photography, and then looked into it. It was basically iPhoneography. It was editing on an iPhone, and it blew his mind. So he talked to me, and he said, Bill, I think I might want to go. I said, do it. It's amazing. This will change your life. And it actually did. So he went. He came back in the middle of summer. I'm admin at our school, so I was there in August, early August, and he came in the day he got back, and he's like, dude, we need to do this. This is going to be an elective, and we're an independent school, so we could actually change the electives, and we had an iPhoneography elective just like that. We were able to move really quickly. So I bought him a class set of iPod Touches, and then he said, all right, let's give this a go. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try it. And it was amazing. It continues to be amazing. This is the 3rd class of students he's had, and it's unbelievable. So this is some of the work he did. This is an app called Leonardo. This is his favorite one. This is one he learned on his little photo walk in Santa Fe. And then here's some of our students. So this is an 8th grader. Completely shot, edited, and published on an iPod Touch. Right? That's legit. I see it from, right? Here's another one. One of the things I love about this elective is that Greg gives his students time to learn it and to own their photos. He's not there saying, no, click on this, click on that, try that. No, you can't draw on a photo. It's a photo. Just said, go for it. And earlier on, this particular student, it looked like the type of thing you'd think of like a middle school student would do. Like it's a whole bunch of photos of pictures and friends and leaves and like cones and stuff. And then a month later, you get to this and just, like, this is amazing. I actually have a print of this in our hallway on the way to the tech office. So now, my journey, I'm wondering about Snapchat. Where are my Snapchat people again? Right? These are ridiculous photos. Well, 2 of the 3 are ridiculous. So I was talking with Jim, he's on the far left, about it, and he was like, wait, you can like do things? And so I showed him the thing, and then I was vomiting rainbows. And it was fun, and look at that picture. It's ridiculous that I would fall in love with photography and have a picture of me vomiting rainbows. And yet there it is. And at one point, didn't we get into this thing, like to have fun with students and have fun with each other and connect with each other in vaguely fun and enjoyable ways? Same thing, this was Ed Camp, independent schools in the middle, and the Golden Gate Bridge was right behind them. So either because they were backlit, I could get a shot of Karen and Kim that was nice and balanced, or I could get a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge with them kind of strangely silhouetted. So instead I just opened up Snapchat and did that, and it was ridiculous, and we laughed about it for like way longer than we should have, right? And one of the things that I love, and I don't know the answer, like is Snapchat where we're headed? I have no idea. Maybe. I have a feeling that it might be, because I'm able to share without thinking as much as I normally would think about with Instagram. Instagram's like, oh, this needs to be a good photo. You know, like I present on photography. I want to make sure that I have good photos. And now I don't feel like I have to. You know, it disappears after 24 hours. That's not really the point. The point is that you can just share it. And it's so much easier to share my day and to share my thinking and my learning and my thoughts of what we're doing with my teachers and with our students at our school. So one other thing, now that we talked about the past, those old Fisher-Price cameras, right, where Greg has been, looking ahead to the Theta 360 camera. The whole idea is that it takes a 360-degree image, a complete sphere, in one click. So if you hop on Google Maps and then click on the little peg man, I took a photo right here on Wednesday, and it's now public for, well, public means for the world to see, but I'll say it again, it's public for the world to see, and it's there. It's a photo that I took. I just went there and pushed the button, and now I have my own little public street view shot from right here. So you see the Q logo, you see an empty room. It's amazing. It feels almost like we're living in the future, that I can take a photo and it's on Google Maps, right? Like it's kind of amazing. So enough of us talking. It's time for you guys to start doing some photo stuff.
Okay, so I would like to back out and get into Google Photos. So I'm going to show you my favorite Google app. And one of the reasons why I like Google Photos too is it also doesn't matter what kind of phone that you're using, whether you're an iOS or you're Android or whatnot, or even if you're working with old school digital cameras or GoPros and you have Chromebooks, you can take those memory cards and load them into the Chromebooks and then put them into Google Photos as well. Is Google Photos, how many people are already using Google Photos? Yeah, okay, cool. So one of the amazing things is that you can use it to back up all of your photos. And like I said, my most precious possessions are my photos. And you can also search them and look for them really easily. So over here, I've opened up my Google Photos, and they have some little tabs over here. It gives me a little news feed of things that are being created. So you can create things manually in Google Photos, but sometimes what it does is it just manually creates some things for you and reminds you of when you took a picture 2 years ago or whatnot. And it creates little albums and stories and all kinds of other projects. And then over here, you have it organized in a different way. And these little icons could mean like an album or a story or a video. But also in the search capabilities, I can do a really cool thing with search. And I take a ton of photos, and what it does is it tags all of the faces of all the people that I've ever taken a picture of. So my nephew came home from school one day, and he said that he had to find a picture of himself to put in one of his projects, but he didn't have any good photos of himself. So he asked me if I did. And so what I can do is I can go on here, and if I click on a photo of him, it's going to show me all the pictures that I've ever taken of my nephew in chronological order. And it does a pretty good job. Sometimes it makes mistakes, but it does a really great job. Now, it just so happens that I have an identical twin sister, and sometimes Google Photos mixes up my sister with me, but that's okay, so does everybody else. But then I could also search by places. So if I wanted to find pictures of Palm Springs, and I press Palm Springs, it's going to bring up all the pictures that I've ever taken at Palm Springs in chronological order. So I could see all the pictures that I took last year and the year before. And there's even a picture of Bill and I.
There we are.
Presenting a different year. So that's pretty cool. And then you can also do it by things. So it categorizes by things. So the other thing, too, is that there's a lot of people doing an emphasis on digital citizenship, including our district. And they do a lot of things about using copyright and fair use and how to document using other people's photos. But I feel like the very best way to avoid any sort of copyright issues is just to make your own media. And we can teach students to do that. Now, if you take photos all the time, this works really well because, for example, if I'm going to do some sort of presentation and I need a picture of something to kind of illustrate my point, I can easily look it up. So if I'm looking for something like, something that conveys hope or anything like that, and maybe I want to find a picture of a lighthouse, what I can do is just search a word like lighthouse, and when I plug it in, it will take all the pictures of a lighthouse that I've ever taken with. So this is pretty cool. Then I can find just the right photo. So it's like doing a Google image search, but with your own photos. And I think it's pretty spectacular, and I love it. And it encourages you to take more photos, too, because this works best when you take a lot of photos. And then also, if you click down here, you can search by, like, creations, for example. And Google does some things automatically for you, but we'll show you how to do an animated GIF. So animated GIFs have actually made a comeback. And back in the 90s, they used to be like these really cheesy, like little clip art, kind of, moving around like this. And now anybody can do it. So basically what you do is just take a burst of photos, and then you can put them together, and I'll do a little demo of that later on. So it's pretty fun. So and my also theory, too, is if you're going to do a selfie, you might as well be creative about it, right? Yes, question. Okay, so her question is, why do some of her photos show up in Google Photos and some of hers don't? So it could have to do with whether or not you have it on auto backup, and then it could be on what account you're going from. So, but ideally, one of the things that I do love about it is that you can back up all of your photos if they're on your iPad or if they're on your phone or if they're on your computer. You can back them all up. So you might want to maybe try to see if you can put it on auto backup. That'd probably be my best guess for that.
Yeah, go ahead. So she asked, if you delete a photo in Google Photos, is it deleted everywhere, including your phone? Okay, so it would be deleted from all the Google products, but if you have, when you install the Google Photos app, I was actually just tweeting about that. When you back it backs it up to Google Photos, and it doesn't sync with your phone, so it's just a backup. So you can do whatever you want in Google Photos, and things in your camera roll stay in your camera roll. Right? It's pretty cool.
Okay, so like if you do like a certain album or a story, if you click on it, and so Google will do this for you, or you can do it manually. So for example, if you were doing writing, it groups the photos that are taken in a certain time all together and puts them in, and then also tells you the time and makes a little map for where you did it, and it kind of like maps your whole journey. And then you have little places for captions. So you could go ahead and like write little narrations for it. So I think it's a great way to really like illustrate what you're doing. So this is all inside of Google Photos. So you have stories, and you have videos, and you have albums too. So
that one was called a story.
Right. And like if I just do an album, I can put a collection of photos in just for an album. And then you can also collaborate on the album as well.
But albums are so 2005.
The albums are so 2005?
Yeah.
Okay. No. Google does it all for you.
You don't have to tag anything,
brilliant.
Which is amazing. I used to spend hours doing that inside of iPhoto, and we're trying to find slides of this, so I just typed in hands, and it found hands. It blew my mind. You try it, and feel free just to yell at some point if you find it. They're like, I see hands! And everyone will go, oh, they're just searching their own Google Photos. It's amazing.
Right.
So, yes. So by default, all of this is private? Yeah,
right,
so this is just your own photos. Similar to Google Mail, right? Just because it's on the internet, so it doesn't mean that everyone can see it.
Right. Yeah. So I will do a little demo of how to make some of these creations inside.
Yeah, so now would be a great time for you to download Google Photos. I thought we could crash the internets. So if you don't have Google Photos and you want to play along, we would love, this is our version of kind of a virtual photo walk. We love to do photo walks during our sessions, and just felt a bit kind of crazy to have all of us in this giant room go out for a photo walk and come back. So this is our photo walk we're going to do within the app. So download Google Photos, and we thought that it might take some time, so we wrote a song for you.
And if you can't, sit next to somebody who might already have it.
Any Foo Fighter fans out there? Nice. So I need to give a quick shout out to Steve Giles. He may or may not be here. Let's say he's here. He sang it. I played guitar on it using GarageBand. We can talk GarageBand later. So it's me playing guitar, bass, and using GarageBand drums. Kind of amazing. So enjoy while you download Google Photos.
your classroom visually. Let them see. Know how you wanted it to be. Visually fair and I'm dead instead. And I wonder to take many shots of you.
Okay, and I've opened up Google Photos, and it looks similar to what I showed you on the computer, but now you can do a creation. So from your computer, you can only make albums in Google Photos. From your device, you can make all these other little things. So I'm gonna do plus, and you have the choices of the album and the movie and the story and the animation and a collage. If you're gonna do videos, I would say it's a really good habit to get into, to go and take, like, say, short 5 to 10-second video clips, and you can put your photos in auto backup and they'll edit it for you, or you can make them manually too, for all of these things. So I'm gonna show you how to make the little animated GIF. And so I'm choosing animation. And then what you want to do is take a burst of photos, so just, at least 2 photos in a row. And I'm going to select, here's 3 photos. So I just check marked them. And then I'm going to press the create button. Oh, great, now I got low battery. Okay, and then it's uploading them. It's going to upload them into hopefully his computer cools off before my phone. Very funny. Okay, and here's my little animation. And it may take a second, but the idea is then you make your little animated GIF this way.
Oh, look at that. We were so young.
Right. So that's pretty cool. And before my battery runs out, I want to tell you about a super duper cool app that I love. And it's called Snapseed, and this one is free. And I'll tell you about one of my very favorite student projects that I do. And you can do this either all from a mobile device, or you can do it on a Chromebook on the editing thing. But I take the pictures from my phone, and I'm going to open a photo from my device, and I'm going to go to my little editing samples, and I have a silhouette project that I do. So for those of you who did like old school like silhouette projects, right? That was like one of the best ones. So sometimes it's fun to, we say in my district, tech up an old school project to something that's makes it a little bit more interesting and easier than the old projectors, right? So I'm going to go ahead and press my editing tool. So I've just opened my photo. So I take my photo first, just with a regular camera on my phone, and then I'm going to go into my editing, and I'm going to tune my image. So right now I'm in this tool, and when I touch on the photo, and you can't quite see it as much, and I swipe up and down, I get a whole hidden other nest of tools. And so what I like to do is boost the contrast, and then I push up again, and I'm going to go to the saturation, and I'm going to go all the way to the left. So I just turned it black and white. I think the colors don't show up quite as good. And then I'm going to go to the brightness, and I'm going to brighten it up so that I get this high contrast black and white, and I'm going to maybe make it go a little bit, right, like that. So I've just made a really good, nice high contrast black and white, and I'm going to check mark it. And then it really helps too if there's a blue sky behind them. I have them stand in the doorway. So just like right over there where there's that light in the background, it casts a shadow on their face. So now what I'm going to do is just crop it. Thank you, Bill. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get rid of all that other messiness in the background. And I press the check mark right there. So right now I have a pretty good silhouette, right? And this app is also great for just improving the quality of your photos. So now I'm just going to go ahead and save it. And since I have my original copy in my camera roll, which is also backed up on Google Photos, I'm going to export it as a JPEG. And if you're working with Chromebooks, you can just take the pictures first. You can upload them into a folder in Google Drive and then give the students access to it so they can download their photo. And if you put it on a Google Slide, you can do the same things right on a Google Slide. So this is something I discovered is pretty cool. And so now I have my photo, it should be right into my camera roll as my black and white photo. So now what I'm going to do is go into another app that I like called Fonto with a PH that's also free for Android or iOS. And I'm going to open this one up. And then I'm going to pull a photo like this. Yes, Craig, you can do this with Google Slides. If you were in my last session, I did a Chromebook session this morning too that has the lesson plan. The app, this one's called Fonto with a PH. Fonto with a PH, okay. And I'm going to go and pull my photo here. So what I do is I have the kids think of 5 words to describe themselves and then their name. And then when I tap on the image to add text, I can write my words. And you can also choose like whatever kind of font you want and press done. And you can change the color and the size and where you want to put it. And like I have them do this 5 times, and we talk about spelling, and we talk about vocabulary, and we talk about adjectives. So it becomes a great language arts product. And then if you print this out and put it on the walls, you have a great like open house thing, back to school night, present for parents, and pretty cool. So then there's a whole bunch of other different apps that you can do. And one that I like, that this one is actually not free, and I think it's only an iOS app, Diana photo app. And this, what you could do is blend a couple of photos together. And it automatically takes 2 random pictures from your camera roll, but you can manually choose. And I put that one. And then it's automatically pulling another photo, but maybe I want to choose, because while Bill and I were walking over here, I saw this cool pond in front of like a little, I don't know what you call it, a water fountain in front of Hard Rock. So I wanted to blend those together. And so it just put that background behind it. And if I swipe like this, I can get all kinds of different filters that can put on it. And this is the kind of thing that I like to do on the plane on the way home, and it doesn't require any Wi-Fi, and I think that the editing photos is kind of therapeutic. But I think, too, is that we don't always have a lot of time to be playing with this in the classroom, but my goal is to get the kids so excited about doing it that they go home and they keep playing with it, because you know that's what they're doing anyway with photos, and if you give them a couple of skills and you give them a few ideas, then they can run with it. And then that really appeals to certain kids that have this kind of learning style, or they're creative and we're trying to promote creativity, and they can come up with some really amazing things. And you can also just press the little die on the top or shake the phone, and it does some random pictures and random filters and just puts them together. So that one is super fun, and I love that one. So the other thing, too, is I want you to be thinking about ways that you can use photography in your classroom that applies to your own subject area or grade level. And I'm just going to give you a few ideas what I've been doing. So anything, I think anything across the curriculum, doesn't matter what age, you could do it. One of my favorite and I do these things called photo walks, where I give them something to go look for, and then we go outside with the kids for maybe, it could be even something like 10 or 15 minutes. They go and they take a bunch of pictures, and they come back, and then they can put it in their Google Photos, and then they can do cool stuff with it on their Chromebooks, because that's when we have more access. But even if you're like a PE teacher, or like when I was teaching, I taught 4th grade for many years. The kids, they had a hard time sitting down all day long, right? So, I would use the photo walks as a way to kind of break it up, go outside, get your wiggly jigglies out, is what I said, and then come back, and then they can focus on doing some more work. So we did one where we had to take pictures of each other jumping, and they were laughing, they were having a good time. We got some awesome photos, and then all the other teachers thought I was absolutely crazy, but we got some exercise and fresh air at the same time. So that's one idea, even if you're just talking PE. The other thing that I love to do is do projects with little kids, since we have more iPads with little kids. We take photo walks. Even you could do it with your big buddies. I used Fonto to put the text on this photo as well, but we did like alphabet books. So they had to go around and look for things that start with their letter sounds or letters of the alphabet. And this photo was taken by a kindergartner that said, "Mrs. D'Alessio, why are you taking a picture of an umbrella on a sunny day?" And then the light bulb went off and it clicked. I'm like, oh yeah, you for umbrella. So that could go into your little alphabet book. The other thing, too, is that I think it's a great way to remember things. So there are some people that I said to me before when I was a little kid, like, hey, you have such a good memory only because you saw pictures of it and that reminded you. But I think the pictures actually remind you and help you to remember it. So for example, if you're going on a field trip and you want them to remember what they learned, or even if you're doing a certain project, like in science, you can document the different process of it. And then like this photo was taken by a fourth grader. Is Robert Craven in here anyway? Oh, wait, this is his son's photo. I love to use it. And then they can just share that too. I've also had kids collaborate on photos with their photos so that they can use each other's work like in a little mini Creative Commons kind of album as well. Or with math teachers. Any math teachers out there? Yeah, all right. So yes, I think that taking pictures for math is great, particularly with geometry is my favorite one to do unit on. So for example, we were studying symmetry, and they could find examples in real life about symmetry. So I think that was great for any sort of shapes. You can do this with like little kids learning circles and squares and triangles and looking for it, or you can do things more sophisticated like parallel lines and perpendicular lines. There's so much that you can do with it. You can also just take an existing old school project and make it a lot more interesting. So any fourth grade teachers in here teaching California history? Yay! Okay, so we did Gold Rush journals, and they had to pretend that they were coming to California during the Gold Rush, and they had to decide which route they were going to take and journal it and do writing and on old school paper. But then we decided that we were going to make a really cool, fun-looking book out of it, so kind of like a hybrid paper and technology project. And I told them to dress in old-fashioned clothes, so wear their like checkered shirts or whatever. And we took pictures of them, and you can write in Snapseed, take a photo and turn it to kind of like sepia, just put it on a simple like white or black background, and we just cut them out and put them in these books. And it seems silly, but the kids put so much more effort into their writing just because the actual product looked prettier than if they had just written it on a piece of binder paper, and we made these little photo books.
So this was in Snapseed. She used the app, or the filter Noir. I did something similar with my second graders. Second grade teachers? All right, there's 5 of us, and I don't even teach second grade anymore. We did something similar. Instead of using Snapseed, I used Hipstamatic, and then bought the filter called Tintype. And so we took pictures like that. Almost the same project, actually. We did an ancestor project, and part of it was on paper. And so we took this, soaked it in old coffee, and had coffee filters like for a week, and then soaked it in tea, and then glued these photos on top of it. It was an amazing one. And again, it makes it feel so much more interesting than just, and you're done, right? Like they're used to kind of boring photos of themselves.
And I also had my kids write books last year. So we were piloting for Shutterfly, so we got some free books printed. And I made a template in Google Slides where we kind of riffed on our A to Z book, but made it about California. And they had to brainstorm things in California that started with certain letters. And we were doing informational writing. So then they had to do some research and then summarize what they learned in a paragraph about these different things. And then they had to go out and take pictures of it. And some kids, of course, they would do like maybe digital drawings instead, which is okay, or they shared each other's photos, and then they put it together with a book online with little audio narrations that they can then share the link. And then they could also print the book out. So they turned out really nicely, and then right before open house, we got them all printed out, and each kid had a book. And I recently got an email from one of my former students, and he said that his favorite day in 4th grade was this day, because it was so rewarding that he had a final product that he actually finished, and it was really fun. So I want you to take a few minutes right now and make friends with the people that are sitting next to you. And I want you to do a little brainstorm of some ways that you could use photography in your own subject area or grade level, and see what each other has to say. And hopefully you're getting some good ideas. Yeah, I mean, you could put it up there. Tell them to do the little selfie with the things. And then try, maybe first try to get them to, and then you could just kind of skip through these, because I already kind of talked about it.
So we want to get you guys taking some photos now. So we have a few tips for you. Again, we're going to YouTube the video. We'll throw that out, and you can hear Steve sing the tips to you. But we also have them just here on one slide. I remember things by acronyms and by photos. I tend to not remember things. So I love this one. When you think of simplifying photos, the thing that changed my photography to go from like okay to, oh, that's actually a cool photo, is to pay attention to what's behind me and what's behind my subjects. So when I'm looking and going, okay, let's do that. Oh, there's like a little Wi-Fi access point sticking up behind you. Or there's a palm tree that looks like it's coming out of your head. So let's step this way, and now it looks fantastic. Right? Just make it a nice, simple shot. When you want to get closer, oops, 2 slides away. Please zoom with your feet, not your fingers. If you're on your phone and you try and pinch to zoom, that's actually just getting rid of pixels. It's a digital zoom. So if you want closer, and the answer is you want closer, because it's the C of scare, just take a couple steps forward and your photos are going to be that much closer. Our brains kind of do that on their own. You can kind of focus in on one person, but if I were to take a picture, and I'm just trying to take a picture of one person, you're going to see like the whole room. It doesn't look in the photo like it looks like in our head.
I want to add one little thing to that.
Yeah, go ahead. They'll turn it on for you.
Okay. So
No,
the other
just
thing
don't
too is like often if everybody goes to the same place, for example, you want to go see like I don't know, you go to the California State Capitol. Most people are going to take pictures that all look exactly alike. They will stand back and they will try to get the whole entire thing in the picture, right? But what if you go up to it closer and take a picture of just the door? Or what if you go up even closer and take a picture of the keyhole or the doorknob? You're going to get completely different perspectives. So that one I would definitely recommend trying.
Yeah, and along those same lines, the A for angle, think of not just eye level, but getting higher up, shooting down, getting lower, looking up, trying just different angles, looking at this, looking at the keyhole, all types of things are going to tell a different story and maybe give details that you otherwise would not have. So if you've never heard of the rule of thirds, just Google it. Imagine a tic-tac-toe board. You want the important thing to be on one of those intersections of a tic-tac-toe board. And then even lighting. I think this is particularly important with someone's face. If they're halfway in a shadow and halfway not, it never, ever looks good.
And the other thing too is that the best times to take photos are usually really early in the morning and later in the afternoon in the day, what they call the magic hour. Because what happens is if you try to take a picture in the middle of the day, you're going to have harsh shadows. And especially if you're doing a portrait, for example, it casts unflattering shadows on your face. So.
There's some really cool science behind that. So if you're a science teacher looking at the golden hour and why it changes the quality of light that hits us, it's really, really interesting. So a quick warning to go against my Snapchatting. It's funny, this was actually on Nicole's old slide deck, and then she kept it, which is pretty funny. I didn't make it, but I found it and tweeted it. So when you take photos and they're going to go on a TV, please hold your phone the way the TV is. Snapchat is the opposite, and it hurts me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make too, besides the pinching and zooming, is the vertical. The vertical video is the worst, right? So please, if you only remember one thing from the session, please film in horizontal.
Unless it's Snapchat. We talked about that.
Okay.
So there's so many ideas for photo walking. We're not going to read these for you. But essentially, if you are teaching and your students are learning something, you can take pictures of that. And in fact, it's a great way for students to explain their thinking and show understanding in a way that does not involve bubbling in anything. Nice, one person clapped.
Yay! They're like, what's the matter with bubbles? No. And then here's just like a sample assignment. So I did talk about the silhouette one already, but one of the other things too is we're really trying to encourage creativity. And I've done this photo walk with a lot of teachers and kids, and everybody loves it. I try to get them to think abstractly and differently. So what we do is we look for love. So we look for things that look like certain letters. So if you notice this collage, like a student sample, the little pipe looks like an L, and the camera thing looks like an O, and then the hole puncher looks like a V, and then the most creative E I've ever seen here was the tape roller, like a lowercase e. If you can't see this, if you can't visualize the LOVE, then you need to do more of this for sure. But yeah, it helps them to go think abstractly. And then you can do a collage. So there's a lot of apps that you can use, like PicCollage or Fusel. But you can also do this in a Google Slide. So if they go take their LOVE pictures, put it into their Google Photos or Google Drive, then they can go onto a Google Slide and make their little love thing. So I usually do this at Valentine's Day, but it's fun any time of the year. And there's the lesson plans that are attached to here for the Silhouette project. And then there's also a link down in the comments to how to do it on a Google Slides for my Chromebook fans. All right. The other thing, too, that I do is when I first start teaching collages, I start off with something really easy. So what I did was we've done little photo walks where they go and just take pictures of regular letters, and me included. And we made like a little collaborative little album of all the letters of the alphabet. And then in Google Draw or in Google Slides, you can put all the letters around the canvas. And then I have the kids collage their names inside of a Google drawing. And there's a little lesson plan attached to this as well. And then the next step is the kids use their own photos for their own collages.
Yeah, this is a seriously cool project that Nicole has designed for students, so you should definitely steal this. This is amazing. This will blow your mind. Feel free just to scream when you open and go, "This is an amazing project," because it is.
With kindergartens and first graders, I do like classroom tours, especially in the beginning of the year, and they have to go take pictures of like the letter of their name, their cubby, where they sit on the carpet, maybe a picture of them with their teacher, their favorite thing to do in the classroom. And then there's an app that I love called Adobe Voice. Any Adobe Voice users here? So we have the teachers set up an Adobe Voice class account, and then they log in on the iPads. So then the kids they take the pictures, they go on the little photo walk looking for the different pictures, they pull them into Adobe Voice, and then it allows them to add voiceovers on each of the stills. So then you have like a voiceover slideshow making a video. So it is so easy that kindergartners can make a video in one class period, like in 45 minutes to an hour, and each kid already is making a video in kindergarten.
Yeah, and there's so many easy ways to share this. Google Drive, Google Photos, Google Classroom. It makes it so much easier than it has ever been for sharing from students to teachers and students within amongst themselves. So,
my phone is up there again. Can we go? Oh, no, it is my phone. It's the screenshots, yeah. Okay, so yeah, these are a couple of the apps. I thought I had gone back to my phone, but it hadn't. Okay. So you can also, and don't try this until you get home, but you can also back up your photos on Google Photos by going into the settings. And I have some screenshots on how to do that as well that are already in here. But wait till you get at home and do this, like maybe at night, because what it'll do is start backing up your entire photo library, right? Yeah. It doesn't delete from your iCloud. It deletes from Google Photos, right?
And then if you delete from your camera roll, it does not delete from Google Photos. They're separate ecosystems, which is great for backing up.
But my thought, too, is don't be like totally dependent on Google Photos. Just like I wouldn't be 100% dependent on my phone, because it's happened that I've lost my phone or your hard drive crashes. I think it's good to have your pictures at least in two places.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we have the slide deck, so if you want to look at these later, we're going to review them, but we're just going to fly right through it because she did this live. Is the animated GIF going to play? Yeah. Yeah, let's make a collaborative album.
Yes.
Are you ready? Oh, good, because we're not.
And so the goal is either before you leave today or even later on, you can continue to add to it. Go back to that collaborative. Oh, it's there?
That's the next one.
Okay, so what we want you to do is to buddy up with somebody who's sitting near you, and then do the little series of photos with you and your, like a little selfie with at least two, like I would say like maybe 2 to 4 pictures. And then in Google Photos, try making an animation, just like I was showing you how to do it. And then after that, what you could do is go to this bit.ly, this URL. So if you just open up the browser on your mobile device and go to this short URL, what it's going to do is let you go to the shared album, and you can join the album, and then if you make something, you can try putting it into our collaborative album. Okay.
So that's what that looks like. So you need the way we understand it is you join via web browser, and then if you have the app, you're able to actually add your photo in the app. Kind of a two-step process the first time.
And if you try doing a collaborative photo album with your students, be sure that they know that their name goes on it, right? And this is a great jumping off point for having a digital citizenship lesson about what's appropriate and what's not. And I hope that I shouldn't have to talk to you teachers about what's appropriate or not, right? But yes, you may continue to put appropriate photos in this album throughout the conference. This is our album to share because we really want to encourage collaboration as well.
Collaboration.
Okay. So right now I want you to start taking some selfies with your friends, your new friends that are sitting next to you, and see if you can put it into this album.
So you're gonna have to. All right, we're going to give you guys one more minute, and then we'll put a nice bow on this. Here we go.
So just for, some people were asking for the presentation URL. We put this up there, and then that's in white, and the blue one is the one to the collaborative or Q-laborative album. And then just in case you don't have time to add your photos to the album, it looks like success. We've had a bunch of new albums. Great job, you passed the class. Very good. So we encourage you, like I said too, one of my goals is to get the students so excited about learning, now they're all looking at that, is that you go home and you keep doing this on your own. I want you to continue to go through this conference and take more photos and add it to this album. So that's your homework, which I call fun work, and we hope to see more coming from you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming.